Hey folks, we got another laser to test, the Hansmaker D1,
Ultra.
D1 Ultra. It's different than the other lasers I've used because it is a combination diode laser and fiber laser. That means we can cut stuff we've never been able to cut before. Yeah. Let's open it up and see what it does.
Alright, the packaging looks great. Hansmaker has done a good job of keeping everything safe during transit. You're going to want to use those two Velcro straps to lift the machine out of the box, and that's because that top yellow section actually moves up and down, so you don't want to grab that, I don't think. Inside the accessories box, you will find a very limited set of instructions, safety glasses that have no markings on them, a massive power supply, a foot pedal, a base plate, a cute round little touchscreen, some right angle brackets, and a little assortment of sample things to try out your engraving on. Alright, back to the machine, and here's where we find our first little surprise.
Oh my goodness.
There's more to that letter H than just the letter H. It's also a latch. And surprise number 2, there's something inside here. Turns out, it's an exhaust fan. Now this did really impress me. I'd say it's a huge step up from the computer style fans that you see on some other lasers. The ducting it comes with is also good quality, it's aluminum lined, therefore making it fire resistant. I did do a highly scientific test to see if it could blow itself across some pens, and well, you could see the result for yourself. Okay, so there's two sizes of hose. The smaller one goes from the D1 Ultra to the exhaust fan. The only problem is all the hose clamps supplied are the same size, which is just a touch too large for the smaller hose. So if you place the clamp between the metal rings on the hose, it just slides off. You can try to push a couple of those metal rings over the flange and then tighten down the clamp on top of those. It's definitely better, but it's still not too hard to pull the hose off. Alternatively, you could look in a box of random stuff in your basement, find a couple smaller hose clamps, and you're good to go. Now that's not going anywhere. On the other end of the small hose is a fitting, which is kinda handy because it creates a quick disconnect from the fan. Alright, before I move this into the other room so I can actually use it, I'll show you a couple other things. This is looking up into the laser from the bottom. You can see the lens cap on there, and there's a camera and something else that I don't know what it is, and a little light strip at the back.
I feel like it's a bit tricky moving this around because I just want to grab it by here and move it, except for this is a part that has to go up and down, and so I don't want to somehow wreck that system. And the doors are everywhere, so all you're left with is this back solid part, and underneath, I guess you can lift it like this, but you can't rest it against yourself because there's the doors. So maybe the best is actually just this strap, put it here and lift like that.
So I grabbed my laser and went for a little walk so I could hook it up to my exhaust system. The fan has a quick release bracket, which is really handy if you're going to be setting up and taking down often. Hook it up to my exhaust, get out the round touchscreen, and plug it in, making sure the little tiny hard to see arrow is facing up. Reset the safety shutoff, turn the key, and start it up.
Alert, alert, safety alert. Okay, before you do anything, whatever you do, don't press this button. I know it's super tempting because it has a little play button on it. But if you press it, the laser is going to laser the last thing it ever lasered. And you might have the doors still open, or you might have the lens cap on. In which case, it's just going to start lasering, and that is not what you want yet. In fact, funny story, while I was testing this machine, I accidentally pressed this button with the lens cap on, which in turn melted a bit of the lens cap, which in turn made a mark on the lens, which I didn't realize, which in turn meant I had to redo a whole bunch of testing. So don't do it, wait, control yourself, there'll be time to press that play button later. Alright.
One safety feature I do really like is how well it seals when the doors are shut. You've got these nice furry little edges, and that combined with the powerful exhaust fan means nothing's getting out of there. Speaking of the doors, they do open all the way up so you could fit on a snow skate deck that you're making. I do see a couple of downsides to the opening up side to side style of these doors versus sliding up and down. One is that you need a larger space around the machine because you need room for those doors to open up. And the other is that with those doors open, the laser is fully exposed, whereas if you had a sliding up and down cover, say on a project like I'm doing right here, you could just slide it down until it hit that board and you'd be pretty protected. Also, look at how good that fan is working, even without the doors shut. That's pretty great. Not sure why the LOS is darker than the rest, but that was probably a me thing. Alright, so there's 3 different ways to focus the laser. You can use the autofocus, which I found quite reliable and consistent. You can manually focus using the knob on the side to line up the 2 laser dots, which I found did not work at all for me. In fact, there was a 25mm difference between where it autofocused and where the manual focus said it should be. That's a pretty significant difference. And lastly, you can actually set the focus height in the software. This is kinda cool because it lets you engrave on multiple heights at once. All I gotta do is measure the thicknesses of my objects, add the 6.5 millimeters of the base plate that's already on there, punch in the different height numbers for each separate object, and let the laser do its thing. Now, if you're wondering why I drew those right angles on the cardboard before I made the cut, it's because I just want to show you a little something. When I was setting this up, I used autofocus first to get the right height for the bottom sheet of cardboard. Oh, here you can see it adjusting height for the second level. Anyways, I updated the camera feed while it was still focused on that bottom layer of cardboard, and then lined up the squares I was going to cut as best as possible with the lines I drew. Now you'll see the cut on the lower sheet of cardboard is perfectly on the line. However, on the upper one, it is moved off to the side a little bit, which means that the camera view is only accurate when it's set at the level it's going to be cutting at. Not really a fault of the machine per se, just something to be aware of. Alright, while we're cutting cardboard, here's a comparison I did using the two different types of lasers on the machine. The first one using the infrared laser and the second one using the diode. I found it interesting that the diode seemed to make a wider cut and also scorched more around the edges. I'm not sure if that's a focus issue, or if the smoke maybe interferes more with the diode laser's wavelength. Anyways, while I was pondering this, something else happened.
Put things on it. Whoop.
Yep, the H fell on the floor. That's not so good. Turns out this is an issue that Hansmaker knows about, and the production models have a larger set screw that hopefully won't let go. Unfortunately, I ended up stripping out that screw, even though I was just using my fingers to turn it. I ended up jamming it back into place, and it hasn't fallen off again yet. Alright, let's do something fun. Let's make ourselves a personalized coaster. Hello, fruit mug. Update the camera view. Now I need to make this smaller, but I can't just grab one of the four handles and drag it. At this point, the software doesn't have the capability to constrain the proportions, so you have to go up to the measurement box and just keep guessing and checking until you get the right size. Once I had the right size, I started engraving. This is a Slate coaster, and the infrared laser works really well on it. Now, how long is this going to take, you ask? Well, I have no idea. The software gives you no indication of expected length of time or remaining time left. It's just a surprise. Actually, that being said, I do know how long it took because I did it. 11 minutes and 58 seconds. Okay, so that was a bitmap image. But what's interesting is I took a vector image, like my logo here, made it a similar size, and used the fill engrave setting. And with these settings, I was able to achieve the same result at a much faster speed. In fact, this whole engrave only took me 41 seconds to do. I really don't know enough about lasers to comment on this, except to say that if you're doing just a black and white image, it seems like you're much better off to make it into a vector than to keep it rasterized. I think my coaster turned out pretty fantastic, and just as an experiment, I gave my logo 9 more passes at the same settings, and you can see how the laser is actually starting to cut right into that rock. Okay, here's something fun. Pretend you had a knife and you wanted to make the blade super fancy. You couldn't do it with a standard laser cutter because the knife handle and that bump thing would just get in the way. Well, lucky we've got the D.I.Y Ultra. Got my vector pattern, put it on my knife, let the laser do its lasery thing, and boom, cutting up tomatoes will never be boring again.
Safety alert number 2. This machine has a switch so when you open the door, the safety cuts in and the laser stops. However, it's not until there that the doors open far enough to cut off the laser. Again, this is a pre-production unit and this is something they're aware of, so I think that they fixed that in the production units, but it's something to check and just make sure.
Alright, after my successful engrave on steel, I wanted to try it on some brass. I tried a whole bunch of different settings and I just couldn't get anything other than a barely seeable mark, which was easy to rub off with a green scrubby. So I contacted the folks at Hansmaker, and they suggested to use the manual focus knob to lower the laser as it's running until you start seeing sparks, which means something's happening. Also, if you're listening, you can hear how the sound changes as the focus gets dialed in. Alright, once I had figured out the focus, I engraved myself a little square. And I think it looks pretty good. It's got some depth to it, and it's a square. However, I did realize that the fact that you have to drop the focus down to make the cut puts the camera out of whack. You can see I've just refreshed my camera after making the cut, and really that square should be right underneath the green square, but it's moved off to the side. And that's going to make things tricky if you're ever trying to engrave in a particular place, which is pretty much all the time. What should work, even with the camera view not lining up perfectly, is to set up your cuts using the preview option. However, at this point the only option is a bounding box, so you can't actually see your exact design, which makes it really hard if you're not making something square to know how it's going to be lined up. One thing I did do to help me with all the ridiculous manual focusing is I took a tape measure, cut it down to 14 centimeters, and glued it onto the side of the machine. That makes it pretty easy for me to use the autofocus and then manually dial it down the 6.5 millimeters it needs to actually start cutting properly. Alright, here's something cool. You can make 3-dimensional engravings into brass. They've got a bunch of pre-made ones here, and I'm going to grab a spidery looking bug thing. Now, the whiter the color, the deeper the engraving is in that spot, so this spider is going to be kind of indented. But I want my spider to stick out, so I'm going to invert that. You can see that there's not a ton of contrast between the blacks and whites in this, so I actually edited it in a different program and re-imported it. So there's mine beside theirs. Alright, let's cut it. I won't show you a time lapse of the cut, you can see that on any number of other videos. This is real time and it took about 2 hours to complete the job. The size of the image is about 20 millimeters by 25 millimeters. Again, once I was done, I refreshed the camera and of course you can see how the cut is not quite aligned with the picture. After the cut, I did 2 quick cleaning passes and here's the final result. And it looks really good. The fine detail in there is pretty amazing. Remember, this engraving is just a little bigger than my thumbnail, so like the tiny joints on the legs, that's incredible. Alright, let's try our bug on a piece of wood. This is, I think, mahogany. This cut took about 8 minutes and I ended up repeating it 3 times to get enough depth. And here's the cool thing about that button. It makes it super easy. If you want to repeat a cut, just hit it. And here's a surprise, the button also rotates, which gives you the option of seeing your bounding box, and it allows you to see if you have anything on a memory card. Although I haven't tried that yet. Okay, let's see how our mahogany bug came out. A little scrubbing with a scrubby, and voila, a wooden bug. Great. But what if you wanted to make a cool design like on Thor's hammer out of EVA foam? Well, start by grabbing a big old bag of knobs so you can hold the foam down flat. I will say that's one thing I really appreciate about this laser, is being able to put things on the surface that you don't have to worry about them getting knocked off or interfering with the laser cut. Especially working with foam, which always wants to curl up and is quite light. On my other laser, I have to make sure everything's taped down really well so it doesn't move. Whereas this, I can just plop the foam down, drop some weights on it, and go. And here you can see how it turned out. It turned out absolutely perfect. And that's done in only 1 minute and 10 seconds. Now, I really wanted the deep engraving to work on my foam, and I tried for probably way too long to get it to work, but I never ended up with something that was really satisfying. Alright, I think that's it. I'm sure there's tons more I could say, but I've already spent way too long on this project, just because there was a lot of stuff to figure out, and a lot of things that didn't quite work how I thought they would. Okay, I guess to summarize, the D1 Ultra has a lot of potential, but I think Hansmaker needs to put a lot of work into the software to make it actually shine. I do have a list of missing features and bugs that I found while working with the software. I'll just throw it up here. Not all of them made it into my video, so at least you're aware of them. That being said, Hansmaker has been very good with responding to suggestions and ideas, and they are updating their software continuously, so hopefully they stay committed to the project and end up with something actually useful. I did also just like 5 minutes ago hear back from them about the offsetting of the image, how it doesn't match up with the camera focus when you've dialed down the focus. And here's what they said about that. They said it can be fixed by adjusting the divergence angle of the fiber laser's beam expander. But this adjustment cannot be done by yourself. So they're suggesting just moving everything over a little bit. Alright, that's it. I may do some more testing if I get enough requests for it, but that would be on my Lost Wax 2 channel, so make sure head over there and subscribe if you aren't already. And thanks to Hansmaker for sending the D1 Ultra to review. They're not paying me to do this, but they did send me the laser for free. And thanks to you for watching. See ya.